Hi, my name's Amy. You may have met me before, but if you haven't, I'm transgender. Probably obvious by my feed and things like that, but yeah. Hi. I didn't really have a purpose for this video. I just had some free time with the house to myself where I could actually record something without, hiccups and people around and whatever. So I just thought I'd say hello. I thought I'd introduce myself. I'm Amy. I'm transgender. I've said that before. I ramble a lot. Yeah. I've kind of had the works done. I've gone the whole hog. Bad turn of phrase, but I'm going to keep that in the edit because whatever. But I don't want you to think that that means I'm like transmedical or think less of people who don't go down that path, because the more I go along with my transition, the less I see it as a transition, and the more I see it as a list of things that you can do if you want to at any point. That don't make you trans, that don't make you any less trans if you do or don't do. So I guess I'm a kind of gender liberal in that way, and actually I've realised along the way that I'm not just non-binary, but gender fluid. So I have these kind of personas that I flip back and forth between. It's not like a DID kind of, I don't wake up one day as this person. It's just a way of kind of describing how things are going that day, how I feel that day. I'll always be Amy, and I'll always be female, and I'll always be she and her. But some days I'm also Patch, who's this little boy. Some days I'll be completely non-binary and AIM. Some days I'll feel completely genderless, and I don't even mean like the concept of gender doesn't exist, it's just a void. And that's news. That's this demonic entity. If you don't kind of get that, that's fine. You can just call me Amy and she and her. There's no problem with that, whatever, whatsoever. So, what have I had done? I've been on hormones for 4 years. I did this privately because I couldn't get on the NHS. I'm still trying to get on the NHS after like a decade or whatever, but yeah. These are natural, these are all mine. I have had bottom surgery. I have a vagina. It's cute. I've had a shallow depth neovaginoplasty. Now, that essentially means that I've got something new and wild and amazing that suits me. It actually, no offence to anybody else who's had this surgery who doesn't see it the same way, but I kind of see it as a non-binary surgery. I have genitals that aren't male or female. I am something new, something strange and weird, and that speaks to me a lot. I'm not a furry, but I consider myself furry adjacent, hence the ears. The more I see people ostracised for being furries, the more I kind of associate with that kind of person, and that comes out in a lot of things in life. So I was bullied for being into punk and goth music and that sort of thing. I like spiders. I pick spiders out as my favourite animal just because they are treated exactly the same way that I'm treated as a transgender person. So yeah. Where are we going? So yeah, I see transition as not a move from A to B, but a list of things that you can do at any point that you want to do them. Actually, I see my transition more of a transition from this socially anxious boy who couldn't speak, was essentially a mute, into this confident person who can sit here on a video in front of you and talk to you without rambling, without mumbling, without fumbling. I mean, I know I'm doing all of those things, but not to the same extent that I would in my previous videos, and I hope that really comes across because I am in a good place right now. Which I can say at this point in my life. I want to sort of sit here as an example of a transgender person who was severely depressed, manically depressed, manic depressive, who's come out the other end and life is great. I faced all the dysphoria. Let's be extremely clear. I went through decades of extreme self-harm. And when I say extreme, I can't talk about them here, the things that happened. But I came out the other end. And I'm so much better for it. So I came out when I was 20. Went almost immediately back into the closet. I transitioned while I was in uni. but nobody will know that because nobody will have seen me. Nobody will have known who I was to know that I was transgender. I passed very well in uni, so if people saw me, they'll have just seen a girl. It's not the case nowadays. You can probably tell I'm a clocky bitch, and I don't mind being clocky. I'll come to that later. 10 years later, I was kind of outed at work, but I was outed because I wanted to be outed. I intentionally told some people I was transgender, knowing that they would tell other people. It was a horrible thing to do, but I guess it means work owed me this favour now, and so I'm not saying I get preferential treatment, but work is easy for me, and I love my job. I love what I do. I'm kind of a window dresser, mannequin dresser. I won't say the job role because it might be specific to my work, but I do shop windows, I do displays, I play with clothes. I'm basically a stylist for most of the day, so I get to dress mannequins in cute things. Often that's goth aesthetic, and that's what I want to get onto next, which is that I'm hugely into goth aesthetic now. I'm not a goth. I don't sort of associate with labels. I love goth music though. I listen to The Cure most of the time. But yeah, I am going to a goth festival soon, and I've got 4 outfits to take with me. I'll be chopping and changing throughout the day. It's interesting, it's cool. But yeah, where are we going to next? One thing I'm never going to change, by the way, is my voice. This is me. This is how I sound, and this is how I will always sound. I have no problem if you want to voice train. Do it. It's a brilliant thing. It's a really hard thing, a really difficult thing. And if you're that way inclined, if you want to do that, good on you, and I wish you all the best. But I am never going to change my voice. This is how I sound. And I kind of like that I sound a little bit like Eric Idle, Michael Palin, Daniel Radcliffe. Michael Palin went to school pretty near here in Shrewsbury. Eric Idle actually went to school in my city. It's a kind of local... It's the kind of accent you get when you're not from here, but you move here. Which is weird because I literally grew up here, but my accent is Black Country. I'm Black Country through and through, kind of. But yeah, hi, this is me. Sorry, I didn't really plan this video or anything like that. I just wanted to ramble for a bit, see how it went, see if you still liked me, if you'd met me as me, and this is me. This is, you know, there's no filters and perfect angles and whatever. This is just me. This is just how I am and whatever. Hi. I sing. Now, I sing in 2 ways. She moves like she don't care, walking on and pulling her, it makes you wanna cry. That's my voice. I'm just singing in my voice, but it sounds a bit like Blondie. It sounds pretty close to Blondie's singing voice, which is kind of cool because she's, you know, obviously a cisgender female. So I can sound like a cisgender female even when I'm talking in my voice. I also have a falsetto, which I can sing in 2 ways. I can either do Bee Gees. Here I am, your lost and lonely part of time, and so on. Or I can go like full on, Monsieur, don't mock me now, I pray. It's hard enough I've lost my pride. You let your foeman send me away. Yes, you were there and turned aside. I never did no wrong. I am obsessed with Les Mis, by the way. All from my childhood, I grew up with 80s music, and that includes Les Mis, that includes War of the Worlds, the musical. Lots of T-Rex, lots of Phil Lynott, lots of bands that I thought as a kid were transgender or gay or queer, who turned out later not to be. I won't name them because I'm not about like clocking people or whatever, but I think growing up I thought a lot more people were transgender than are. I think that helped in transition and things. I sort of, when I eventually realised I was transgender, I thought it was just a normal thing that everyone does. Like everyone, I thought most of Hollywood were transgender, but turns out not. So but that's fine. Huge Bowie fan, things like that. Yeah. Actually, the music I listen to most nowadays is Chappell Rowan, Paramore, Wet Leg, Gorillaz. They're my sort of four. They're the four I would go to. But also Patch has his own playlist, and that includes things like Squeeze or Duran Duran. Loves Wild Boys. Wild Boys is his anthem. So yeah. I like books. That's a sore topic because, you know, you can't like things anymore. If you start liking something, it eventually goes to shit. So currently I would say that my favourite book series is Terry Pratchett's Discworld, and my favourite book is Night Watch. Toss up between Night Watch, Gods and Mort. They're the three that really do it for me from that series. So currently I worship Terry Pratchett, but I'm not going to go into the same sort of level as I did for previous authors who have turned to shit, because you know what happens. Yeah. Has this been a good introduction? Has this been a good topic? I don't know. I'm getting more confident with myself. Broad shoulders are fucking hot. I love my body. I love everything about me. Even though I'm a clocky bitch and, you know, there's so much to not like about myself. Ignore this cleavage, by the way. This is heavily forced. One thing I've learned about being transgender... if you go out there and you study people generally, women generally, 95% of them don't want to show any cleavage, and they might be even wearing low-cut tops and you don't see anything. This is forced. This is actually, you know, you have to create this. But yeah, I have 38DD breasts, which is kind of cool, kind of neat. That happened mostly after bottom surgery, but yeah. I am 100%. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Trapped online. Wrong turn. Cool. Whatever. I'm mumbling now. I'm completely addicted to the internet, and that's where I live. My Discords, generally, you won't meet me there because they're for good friends, good friends. And I actually live in personas, so I have several Discords where I'm a completely different person. And if you met me in either of them, you'd wonder if it was the same person. Most of my time is spent on Blue Sky. And I am completely and utterly addicted and dependent on Blue Sky. And that's probably a bad thing. But Blue Sky gave me body confidence. Blue Sky gave me people who think like me, who like me. It was a complete antithesis to Twitter, really. I started off in Hellthread. Hellthread has a lot of problems, had a lot of problems. There was a lot of abuse in Hellthread that I wasn't sort of witness to. I didn't know was going on. So I won't speak about it as this magical, amazing place. But my experience of Hellthread was body positivity, friendship, sex positivity. It's a good place for sex workers, and I am a sex worker. I'm not a one-to-one sex worker. I don't, you know, I'm not saying that's a bad thing whatsoever. That's not me. I do adult modelling online. I do, I do photos, I do videos for tips. That's basically 10% of my income comes from that. You'll see it around from time to time. I'm not really here to advertise that here because obviously this is a safe work environment. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because if I'm introducing myself, that's important to know. I consider myself several things, and this is where we get confusing. I'm lesbian, but I'm also pansexual, but I'm also asexual, but I'm also situationally sexual, so I'm sexual in the right environments, in the right situations, so then I'm probably demisexual. But I'm actually also romantic. What the fuck does that mean? Well, that means I love myself. And I've got to a point in my life now where I can say that I love myself. And I take this to a great extent nowadays. The more I'm exploring this, the more I'm realising I am my own girlfriend. I want to be my own girlfriend. Probably sounds creepy, probably sounds weird, but this is my life. I can do whatever I want with it. But yeah, I can't see myself being with anybody romantically. I'm sexually inexperienced, but I see myself mostly as asexual and not interested in that side of things. As much as I get heated and horny online, and as much as my blue sky is quite, rampant and feral, I'm not that person in real life, except for in particular situations, and you're probably not going to get into those situations, whatever. Yeah, just to finish off then, I hope you liked this video, whatever. I don't mind you talking to me in DMs, but I find them extremely, extremely socially anxiety building, whatever. I will crap out in DMs. I will ghost you, even if you're my best friend, even if you're my sister. I have ghosted my sister so many times in DMs, and it's not intentional. So please, if you're going to use them, please understand that it's not personal if I just disappear one day or I don't reply to you, even if I want to. But please do DM me if you want to. If you ever need to ask anything. If you ever want to ask anything about my life, about my transition, about bottom surgery, about my body, ask me all the squicky, awkward questions that nobody ever asks, because if I'd been able to ask somebody those questions, I might have got further in life earlier. So if you need to ask me really, really personal, deeply personal, awkward questions, you can always ask them. DM me, ask on my timeline. I will reply earnestly, possibly humorously. But yeah, hi. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my dulcet tones. Sorry I didn't have anything more interesting to talk about today, but yeah, I love you. I did this video in one take, and I think I'm going to keep it. So, I love you. I'm doing great. I love myself. I love you. I think you're doing amazing. And I hope to get along with you. Hi.